Hi, this is Chell, and thanks so much for taking the time to watch our 2016 Trends video. This year we're going to mix the format up a little bit. The last couple of years we've talked about the top 10 things to watch in the coming year, but something significant's happened. There's actually been an acceleration of technology, not just in terms of the amount of technology being developed, but actually how quickly that technology gets applied into society. We often hear about how innovation is continually speeding up and how more and more things, or the volume of innovation, is increasing. But I think what we've really seen this year is not only that the volume of innovation continues to increase, but actually the rate at which that innovation gets applied down into society and has effect on you and I is actually happening much, much quicker. So we've rolled those innovations up into what we call 5 super categories. Now, autonomy is all about things, as you can imagine, that happen without you having to do them. But they're things that in the past you would have manually had to do. The obvious example that's screaming to the forefront is driving. I personally believe that probably my grandkids will look at my kids and say, "Mom, Dad, you guys actually used to drive cars?" I think it's that close, and that's where things are really moving towards. The notion of us driving a car will be, incredibly novel and will probably be laughed at. But it also affects many other areas as well. Media being automatically created, drones that automatically fly and follow my actions, cameras that automatically turn on and off based on certain behaviors that people are having and that they can share, or whatever the case is. This whole notion of autonomy is really going to be a super category that has effect on our society and will start affecting you this year. So another super category to be mindful of is what we're calling nano or nano architecture. So within nano architecture, there's 2 particular areas to pay attention. First of all, there's the actual design and build. And this is really about the people and the organizations that are thinking up, designing, and engineering, and have real expertise around the possibilities of what can happen with nano architecture. So the second subcategory within here is actually the materials. Now, we've all heard quite a bit about graphene and what its potential is, and a number of the things that are being built with it and its applications. But there are now several other materials that have not just been discovered, but engineered, that have equally impressive characteristics of graphene and will have as equally deep impacts on how we are building structures and designing new products going forward. Now, we've heard a lot about blockchain, right? And we've heard a lot about Bitcoin over the last number of years. But this is all bubbling up to a super category known as digital trust. So this is kind of the third wave of the internet, if you will. So the first wave of the internet was all about information. The second wave was all about communication. This third wave that we're now entering into is all about value transfer. And this digital trust is allowing value to transfer across the internet without us having to know each other, but in a fully compliant and transparent manner. So digital trust is all about having to remove an expensive resource that acts as an agent to ensure that a transaction is completed. So that might be a credit card company, it might be a trust agent for a mortgage, and it's really being able to do that in an automatic fashion across this thing called the blockchain, which is really basically just a transparent ledger that allows everybody to see every transaction that's happened. So we're going to see the rise of things like smart contracts or smart account payable systems, where certain vendors are paid in a certain way by certain companies based on things that are happening globally or things that are happening within their company. This will not only speed up the rate of transactions and the types of transactions that can happen on a global basis, all the way from the government level down to the enterprise level, right down to personal transactions between individuals, but it's also going to have a major sociological effect, in my opinion, because people will actually be seeing how you can enter into trusting relationships. So if you can imagine a globe that has a basis to transact based on trust, the socioeconomic impact is going to be far greater than even just the economic impact. Last year we talked about the Internet of Things as one of the top 10 categories, or things to watch, if you will. This year we've elevated it to a super category. And the reason that we've done that is that so many of the other super categories are actually possible because of all the connectivity that happens within the Internet of Things. So whether it's my fridge talking to the grocer, which is talking to the credit card company, which is talking to my credit score, which is talking to my car, which is talking to my insurance company. It's not just now about the actual devices talking to each other, but it's about the data that those devices are talking about and actually sharing with other pieces of software. The Internet of Things is really now about utilizing the connectivity and the data that's created with that connectivity to create everyday, real, applicable things that make our life easier. The Internet of Things Things is about not just devices now being connected, but it's about everything and every piece of data being connected. So the final super category that we want to talk about is something that's being known as the Internet of Me. So we've heard about IoT, well, think about IO-Me. Now, if you think about yourself as a thing, which you're not, you're much more than that, then you could put yourself in the category of the Internet of Things. However, every piece of data that we create, whether it's the amount of heartbeats we have, or whether it's about how fast I drive my car, or the food that I eat, or the movies that I watch, all of that data is the IO-Me. The IO-Me data will become the foundational data upon which all the other super categories evolve. IO-Me data has two trends that are emerging in it already. First of all, it's all about getting the data so that your life can be made easier with devices or services. But it's also about the data that you now can monetize, right? Make available, sell, or capitalize on to all the other either brands or people or organizations out there that want to have interaction with you because of your IO-Me profile.